Hello and welcome to this new version of YAG, that's version 0.18, and it brings us three new features. The first one is a small relooking of the main menu. I have enlarged and flattened the buttons and I've added some text to them, hoping it will help newcomers to find their way more easily through this jungle of icons. I've also added two new options in the player visual options window here. So you can disable the text if you prefer the old way, or you can disable the icons if you prefer a more compact menu. By default, we get both. Next, it's now possible to limit the maximum moving distance allowed to a pawn. So let me show you that with the soldier here. We have a new field in the pawn's property window that sets the maximum distance the pawn is allowed to travel by manual order. So by default it is disabled, which means we can send the pawn anywhere, as was always the case in YAG, but we can now enable it and then this distance will be taken into account. So by default it's 10 meters, I'm going to put it to 3 meters, and you can see that now wherever I put the mouse, the cursor of the pawn is never going further away from the pawn than the distance I set for it. Okay, so this allows to limit the pawns in a dungeon, as you can see obviously, and it can also be a security to never lose them. When enabled on a pawn, we can't now mistakenly send it to the other end of the map. Finally, we can now call one or all the players to our custom cameras. I'll show you this with the online computer I'm using for my network test. So first, let me reduce the size of this window. 720p should be okay. So as a dungeon master, I can see what this player is seeing. This was always the case in YAG. Well, it has been for quite a long time. Okay. The novelty here is that we now have two new buttons, those ones, um, on this player window. So the first one will open the camera window. Okay, it's just a shortcut for this button here that we find in the main menu. Okay, they do the same, opening and closing this window. As you can see, I have defined three cameras: a general view here, a first-person view on the soldier, and a side view of a scorpion that is in another room. So this second button here will send the selected player to the visible camera. So for example, I can send the player to this general view here, or I can send them to the scorpion view and give them a tour. The scorpion is here. You can see that if I'm moving the scorpion, then the player is getting moved as well. So by the way, you can see there's a delay between my orders and the client reaction. This is because pawns have a lot of variables to synchronize, and updating many pawns every frame would hurt the network usage a lot. So because of that, and because YAG is not a reflex game and doesn't need milliseconds responses, I update the pawns on the client only once per second. This is generally not noticeable because each player only sees one screen, but you will notice it if, like me, you're using multiple computers on a single screen. So do not worry about the lag. It is normal and controlled. Okay? So we can give our player a tour, or we can send them to the soldier camera here and give them a fright by sending the scorpion right to their face, as you can see here. Okay, so we we have also a button here on this window, the camera window, which is new, and uh, this one will call all the players to this camera. So of course, having only one player connected, this will make no difference. But if I had three players, this button here would send them all to the camera, okay, while this one only works for the selected player. This new feature can be a very powerful tool for a dungeon master. You can send your players to any prepared view, which should give you more controls on your narrative. Alright, this is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if it's the case, then see you in the next with pleasure. Thanks, bye.